Pennsylvania is home to a vast collection of roller coasters and is oftentimes forgotten about in the coaster community. While it may not have the most coasters like California and it doesn't have the best quality coasters like Ohio, Pennsylvania is arguably the best state to be a coaster enthusiast. Not only does the state boast over 50 roller coasters themselves, but it's within driving distance of Ohio, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, all states with great amusement parks. And if you're willing to go on a little bit of a road trip, throw Virginia in there, as you can hit Busch Gardens and Kings Dominion in a 5-hour drive. Maybe less. For those reasons, as well as it being my home state, I figured my first real video on this channel would be ranking the top 10 roller coasters in Pennsylvania. Disclaimer: making a ranking list is something extremely difficult to do in an agreeable fashion. Therefore, these are my opinion and what I enjoy. You may disagree with my list, and that's okay. Rounding out the bottom of the list is Hydra the Revenge, a floorless steel coaster located in Allentown, Pennsylvania. However, the reason Hydra makes this list for me, unlike other coasters at Dorney, is its creative and extremely fun layout. I mean, the ride starts with the JoJo roll right out of this station. This element packs a lot more of a punch than people really understand unless you ride it. Because you're going so slow, you spend so much time upside down. Other reasons I love Hydra is the straight drop after the lift hill. Not a lot of floorless coasters have a straight drop, as well as the fact that it packs in 7 inversions without really being a stomach churner or getting you dizzy. It's got a really cool, kind of distorted Cobra roll that's at a different angle than most Cobra rolls, and therefore it gives a little bit of a different experience when you ride it. And to top it all off, I think the ride has really cool theming. I know this coaster doesn't get a lot of love, but it had to make my top 10, and honestly, it would have been higher on my top 10 if it didn't have a rattle. It's got a rattle. It's noticeable and a little bad. However, I'll fully admit my Hydra bias, and it's ranked way higher by me than most other people in the coaster world. Number 9 is Steel Curtain at Kennywood, and you might be a little shocked to see it so low on this list. I mean, it holds 3 impressive records: the tallest inversion in the world at 197 feet, the most inversions in North America at 9, and the tallest roller coaster in Pennsylvania at 220 feet. Those statistics alone would make this one of the best coasters in the country on paper. So why is it near the bottom of this list? Well, Steel Curtain has a myriad of small yet notable complaints in my opinion. This is why I put a disclaimer on the video, because I personally am a big fan of setting when it comes to a roller coaster. I know most coaster enthusiasts want airtime or intensity, but one of the most important things for me is setting and how visually appealing a ride may be. Therefore, the concrete plot of land that Steel Curtain is confined to isn't very visually appealing for me. Don't get me wrong, it's kind of cool to look at from the outside, but when you're riding the coaster, it's boring. Furthermore, it has a slight rattle, below par restraints. They're not bad, but they're not great. And the ride is obnoxiously loud. I know that's getting nitpicky, but it's so loud, it's unnecessary. I feel like I'm being too mean. This coaster is amazing. It deserves a spot on this top 10. I just wish I could bump it up higher if those minor complaints were resolved. Meanwhile, the number 8 on this list is pretty much the opposite of Steel Curtain. Great Bear is the first of many coasters at Hershey Park to appear on this list. I may also have a Hershey Park bias, I'll admit it, it's my home park. Regardless, unlike the previous mention on this list, Great Bear appears very mild on paper. However, unlike the previous mention on this list, Great Bear has arguably the best setting in Pennsylvania. This ride is utterly gorgeous. In the short time you're actually riding Great Bear, you not only get great views of the town of Hershey, you get to go past the river, past other roller coasters, you go in between other roller coasters, you're going around footpaths and trees. It's visually stunning. You get to go through so much of the park, and this is one of the few coasters I've hardcore marathon before. I've been on Great Bear 20 times in a row, yet by ride 20, I was still awestruck in the beauty of the coaster just as much as I was by ride 1. Fahrenheit being number 7 may be another shock for members of the general public. It's a crowd favorite at Hershey and consistently has the longest lines in the park, which is honestly annoying because I love Fahrenheit. I would love to ride it more, but I don't want to wait 2 to 3 hours each ride. As you see on the screen, Fahrenheit headlines a vertical lift hill with a beyond vertical drop of 97 degrees, which was world record for a short period of time. The ride then enters a Norwegian loop, which I did not know the name of before making this video. I always just called it a deformed pretzel loop because it's basically a deformed pretzel loop, but it's a really cool element. And then it enters immediately into a Cobra roll, followed by 2 corkscrews, an intense airtime hill, which gives me way more airtime than you would expect when watching videos of this coaster. And though this ride is only 121 feet tall, and it has a relatively short layout, it packs a punch. and it surprises me almost every time I ride it. Like, it is a heavy-hitting coaster for even the most seasoned coaster enthusiasts. I referenced before that some parks only have one entry on this list, and Ravine Flyer 2 is the only entry from Waldameer Park. This coaster definitely gets a high ranking in my settings category because I think, to this day, it's still so cool that Ravine Flyer 2 goes over a highway twice. It also has a really nice layout. I mean, a lot of people complain about the restraints, and that's fair. No one's going to argue that gravity group restraints are the best in the industry. I mean, they're definitely not buzz bars, but then again, buzz bars would probably be dangerous on this coaster given it has a 90-degree bank turn. I digress. The restraints on this coaster are manageable. That does not take away from how good this ride is. It definitely deserves the recognition that the Golden Ticket Awards have given it, which is 10 straight years in the top 10 for wooden coasters. I think that's a fitting spot for it. It's not the best wooden coaster in the world, but it's definitely in the S-class top tier. Without Ravine Flyer 2, Waldameer could be seen as a casual, local park, but with Ravine Flyer 2, Waldameer becomes a park that coaster enthusiasts must go to at least once for the experience and coaster credits. It pains me to put Stormrunner at number 5 on this list, because I'm a very big Stormrunner fan. I had to set aside a lot of my bias when it came to Stormrunner, and I know I still have bias in this video, but if I did not restrain myself, Stormrunner would be in the top 3. Hands down. And it doesn't fully deserve that spot. It is one of the most underrated launch coasters in the world. It's not one of the best, but it is one of the most underrated. The launch from 0 to 72 miles an hour hits you like a truck, and that top hat gives a lot of airtime that you wouldn't really expect, especially with the Intamin vest restraints. The ride then goes into a Cobra Loop, and Stormrunner's Cobra Loop, coincidentally enough, is the picture in my YouTube avatar. And then Stormrunner goes into the element it's most well known for, the Flying Snake Dive, which is a one-in-the-world element. You can only find it on Stormrunner, and it's so much fun. It's a Heartline roll, then into like a half Intamin dive. It's weird, it's creative, and it puts forces on your body that you're never going to get anywhere else. For those reasons, Stormrunner is one of my favorite roller coasters of all time, and it deserves the number 5 spot at the least. Number 4 on this list is the second and final coaster from Kennywood, Phantom's Revenge. I mean, you knew this coaster was coming at some point on this list. Phantom's Revenge is also one of the greatest examples of a coaster sequel being way better than its first predecessor. I think it's the greatest example in America, and it deserves a lot of props for having a beautifully redesigned layout and a tremendous ride experience, especially when compared to its predecessor. This ride is popularized for its second drop being taller than the first, as you're seeing here on the screen. That second drop plummets riders down the hill, and it's really cool. It's a really cool element. The coaster then goes into a barrage of twists and airtime hills as it slowly works its way back up the terrain and back up to the station. Phantom's Revenge is, in my opinion, the best coaster at Kennywood. I know there's some competition about that now that Steel Curtain has been added to Kennywood's lineup, but I think Phantom's Revenge proves that you don't have to break records to be the best. Number 3 is possibly one of the most polarizing roller coasters in the world. That's why I'm not showing it on the screen until I mention its name, because you probably know what it is, but some people react to this the same way they hear Voldemort, and that's Skyrush. People either love or hate this ride. There's very little in between, and that's entirely due to the restraints. Now, I love Skyrush. It's number 3 on my list. Meanwhile, other people wouldn't put it in their top 10 because of the restraints. So don't get me wrong, I love Skyrush, but I'm not gonna sit here and preach about how good the restraints are. I will be 100% honest. These restraints are horrible. In the past, the restraints didn't affect me as much, and Skyrush actually would have been number 2 on this list, but my rides of Skyrush in 2020 have been more painful than ever. The restraints dig into your legs, feel as though they're cutting off blood flow and slowly amputating your legs, and I don't appreciate it. Some coaster enthusiasts claim that these restraints eliminate any airtime, which I disagree with. I still get great ejector airtime, but it's a bit painful. It just sucks, man, because Skyrush would be one of the best roller coasters in the world if the restraints are better. It's super intense, has a lot of ejector airtime. However, it only places 3rd in Pennsylvania, and I don't even know if I could call this a best coaster in the world because the restraints are just the worst. They're dog trash. From bad restraints to good restraints, we got Phoenix. I love Phoenix so much. I haven't been to Knoebels in a couple of years, and that makes me so sad. Though Phoenix is the only coaster from Knoebels on this list, when I was drawing up my rankings before making this video, Twister was actually 12th place behind Talon at 11th place. So I can confidently say that both wooden coasters at Knoebels are gems. I love them. However, Phoenix is higher in this list because it focuses more on airtime than Twister does, and I'm a fan of airtime. Phoenix is actually one of the first coasters I have memories of riding as a kid, and I remember when I was a child, before I was a coaster enthusiast, before I knew what things like airtime and G-force was as a child, I could still recognize that, oh, this coaster lifts you out of your seat a ton. Phoenix has a very simple layout, but I think that's to its benefit because it can fit more airtime hills in the ride rather than if there was a random helix in there somewhere. Phoenix has also won the Golden Ticket Award for Best Wooden Coaster twice, which is well deserved. This coaster stands the test of time due to the tremendous upkeep that Knoebels dedicates to Phoenix. For that reason, this ride remains spectacular over 70 years after its creation. Finally, at the number 1 spot, I mean, there's not many options left. You probably know what it is. It's Candemonium. The newest addition to Hershey Park is not only the best coaster at the park, but the best roller coaster throughout all of Pennsylvania. Despite the weak name, I think Candemonium is a stupid name. This is a monster of a roller coaster. It's the tallest, fastest, and longest at Hershey Park with a height of 210 feet, speed of 76 miles an hour, and length of 4,636 feet. I mean, it's a B&M Hyper. What do you expect? Pennsylvania didn't have a B&M Hyper before Candemonium, and now that it does have a B&M Hyper, and it's a damn good B&M Hyper, it's gonna be number 1. I would also argue that this is the smoothest ride in all of Pennsylvania. The restraints are very comfortable, contour around your thighs beautifully, and it helps you get even more airtime on these tremendous airtime hills. I know this ride is new, so saying it doesn't have a rattle is kind of misleading, but it's true. There is absolutely no rattle. I also love the setting of Candemonium as it travels through the forested valley of Hershey Park while also going around the Kisses Fountain. That's really, really cool. Additionally, the chocolate theme of this ride is executed phenomenally, and the queue lines and loading station are really fascinating just to walk through and experience. I believe that Candemonium belongs to an elite class of roller coasters that are nearly flawless, few of which exist in the world. I'm not saying it's the best roller coaster in the world, obviously not, but Candemonium deserves a spot in the top tier of roller coasters, sitting side by side some of the best. Anyways, that ends my ranking video. This is technically the first real video I'm uploading on this channel because my only video prior was a POV video. However, I plan on uploading a ton. My next video is going to be a little bit more personal and less of a list. However, I hope you all enjoyed this, and if you did, a subscription is appreciated. I plan on making a ton of coaster content, so stick around. One day I'd like to do an outro without a motorcycle interrupting it. Anyways, peace.